Hey guys, Ultimates here. I have an update for you guys before we start the video. My life has been getting pretty busy, and so it's kind of hard to find time like every single week to write and record. So what I'm going to be doing is changing my posting style to I'll simply try and post when I can. So I might post twice in a week, and then the next week I don't really post at all. But it's not going to be as structured like every week I'll post like one video, and so it's gonna be more of a I'll try and write and record when I can, but when I don't write and record, it means I just really didn't have the time. But I just want to say thank you guys for all your support for getting me like this far into my YouTube career, or not really a career, but my YouTube channel, and for all the support you guys have given me. So I just want to say thank you, and without further ado, enjoy the rest of the video. Izuku gritted his teeth as he dragged a large fridge behind him in the sand towards the stairs. This was a system that Zooka designed to help him train. He would drag or carry trash to the base of the steps that led down from the street to Dagoba Beach. From there, Izuku would use Peregrine to lift the material up from the bottom of the stairs to the top, which was harder than it looked, as Peregrine drew strength from him. Surprisingly, a few days after Izuku had started cleaning the beach, an old man, well into his 70s, had offered to help Izuku move the trash to an actual dump site with his old beat-up pickup truck. It was a huge help to Izuku, as when he had started cleaning the beach, he had no idea how he was going to move any of the trash to an actual dump site. But now that Izuku didn't have to worry about not having a place to put the trash, he could go full capacity when moving the trash off the beach. Literal tons of scrap metal were moved every day by Izuku. It had already been 1 month, and Izuku had already cleaned about 20% of the beach. It was actually quite incredible, but Izuku supposed it would have taken him about 9 to 10 months without the help of his quirk. So, by logical reasoning, Izuku had estimated that he could finish cleaning the beach the rest of the beach in about 4 more months. After that, both Izuku's body and quirk would be strong enough to both experiment and create new moves with. Not to mention the fact that his growing physique would lend itself to Izuku's recent venture into both martial arts and parkour. Well, martial arts weren't a new capture, or a new venture, as it were, as he has been both doing taekwondo and karate for the past 5 years. He wasn't a master by a long stretch, but he was competent enough. Picking up parkour was more of a recent decision, as it allowed him much greater mobility, which in turn increased the effectiveness of his martial arts. On top of new things learned, Izuku had discovered about 2 weeks ago that Peregrine wasn't actually as connected to him as he previously thought. Peregrine could completely detach himself from Izuku, though it was almost unbelievably strenuous. So Izuku had, for the time being, put that discovery on the back burner until he finished cleaning the rest of the beach. Just a few more months, Izuku thought. Then, it's time to get inventive with my quirk. Time skip. 4 months. It's finally done. Izuku panted out between breaths. He was currently shirtless, and sweat dripped down his body. It had taken a Herculean effort to finish the beach according to his goal of 5 months in total. Apparently, most of the heavier stuff was underneath all the piles of trash. But it was done now. The entire beach was devoid of trash, which left a long stretch of beautiful beach, right next to calm cerulean blue water. And with the morning sun shining tranquilly on the beach, it made the scene even more beautiful. "It's beautiful, isn't it? I assume that you were the one who cleaned the beach," a chipper voice said, next to Izuku. If Izuku had the energy, he would have jumped, but as he almost had no energy, he settled for slightly turning his head to the side to observe the newcomer. The person observed looked to be a high schooler, around maybe second year. They had very unique blue eyes and blonde hair with a small cowlick in the front. Overall, it gave them a very unique, babyish face, but the rest of their appearance was anything but baby-like. Their muscles were extremely defined, and they were quite tall. Most likely a result of their quirk, or some training they had to do to use their quirk, Izuku theorized, before realizing he hadn't responded. "Oh, yeah," Izuku said awkwardly. It's been pretty hard to do it in 4 months, but I managed. Well, with the help of my quirk, that is. The person nodded rather comically before responding. That's really good, but I'm curious as to why you cleaned the beach. Well, Izuku responded, his breath finally returning to normal. This used to be a pretty beautiful beach, or so I heard, and it's also pretty devoid of any people, which would allow me to use my quirk without bothering anybody. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that cleaning the beach was the perfect way to both train my body and my quirk in preparation for the upcoming UA entrance exam. As Izuku was talking, the newcomer nodded along, but when Izuku mentioned UA, they made a strange face, almost as if he understood a joke that flew over Izuku's head. Well, I just want to say good luck on the UA entrance exam, the person said, before nodding and jogging away. Strange, Izuku thought. I never got their name. Time skip. 2 weeks later. Izuku focused on Peregrine, who was currently extending about 10 feet out. In the past 2 weeks, Izuku had come up with experimental techniques. Just a few, though. Most of them were still in the testing phase. You ready, Peregrine? Izuku called. Born ready, came the jovial response from Peregrine. Over the years, Izuku had noticed that Peregrine had a personality quite different from his own. It was exasperating sometimes, but Izuku couldn't deny that it was refreshing also. Okay, let's start off simple, Izuku said. Chimera Tactics. Immediately, Peregrine pulled back and wrapped itself around Izuku, creating sort of a cloak made out of flames. Then, 2 large claws, or clawed hands, made out of flames, formed on both sides of the cloak. Izuku mentally took control of the claws and took a few experimental slashes at thin air to see how they would work. Good, Naruto thought, before snapping out. Restrain! The flame cloak melted off Izuku and formed into Peregrine's normal form, before Peregrine exploded outwards, darting forward insanely quickly and wrapping around a metal target Izuku had placed about 20 feet in front of him. Okay, good. Buckshot, Izuku thought. But this time, instead of Peregrine doing anything, Izuku held up his hands. They glowed reddish-orange for a few seconds before 2 fiery orbs appeared in his hands, one in his left and one in his right. Both orbs then launched forward without any indication from Izuku, and flew towards their target. They impacted the target with 2 simultaneous flashes of light and 1 loud bang. Izuku nodded once more, before barking out his next order. Now detach! He then felt a tugging sensation as the cord of fire that connected Izuku to Peregrine was severed. Peregrine then started to change, no longer being a bird-like creature. Now, hovering in the air, flapping its wings made out of fire, was a giant Peregrine Falcon. Completely made out of fire. Peregrine, Izuku called out. Yes? Came Peregrine's immediate response. Izuku smiled. This he could work with. Though he still felt his energy draining very fast, it wasn't as fast as before. I think we're going to have to experiment with this a little bit more, Izuku said, a smile sliding up across his face. Time skip. 4 months. UA entrance exam. Hello, listeners, President Mike called. It's me, President Mike, and I'll be one of the proctors for the practical portion of the exam today. The first exam had been as expected for Izuku. The test was a thick packet that could be passed off as a short book. It was filled with different questions organized into sections: history, math, science, as well as other subjects. It was difficult, but Izuku wasn't feeling too poorly about it. President Mike then went on to explain the entirety of the second exam, and about how one had to destroy robots to gain points. All the applicants were then loaded onto buses and driven to one of the testing sites. Izuku gave himself a quick internal pep talk as the buses started to slow down. He could do this. It was what he had trained for, and train he did for months. Everything would be fine, he assured himself. Izuku then took a deep breath before walking out of the bus and towards the gates. Start! Came President Mike's voice a few minutes later through the speakers. Izuku immediately took off, quickly pulling ahead of the other applicants. Peregrine manifested and formed into the Chimera Tactics mode with a single thought from Izuku. Izuku then proceeded to mow down any robots in his way as he raced towards the middle of the city. He wasn't going out of his way to destroy the ones around him, just any that got into his way, were cut down. Most of the robots here are one-pointers, which stands to reason that the harder ones are in the center of the city, Izuku thought, as he and Peregrine crushed 2 more one-pointers into a red-hot mess of metal. That's 13, Izuku thought, before he felt the flyer cloak surrounding him suddenly jerk to the side, pulling him with it. And just in time, as a laser bullet soared past where he was. Thanks, Peregrine, Izuku thought, before turning back. A 3-pointer, Izuku observed. Seems I was right. The stronger ones are in the center of the city, with the proctors. In a dark room, the UA teachers were watching the practical exam. See anyone you'd like to be in your class, Shota? Nezu asked. No, came Aizawa's curt response from his yellow sleeping bag. Well, examinee number 834 certainly is impressive, Cementos stated. One of the screens showed Bakugo blowing through robots, one after another. Yes, as is number 857, Snipe mentioned. Now that I think about it, didn't they come from the same school? They did, Nezu replied, before dramatically pressing a red button. But let's see how everyone reacts to the true test of metal. What it means to be a true hero. With Izuku. Izuku destroyed another robot before he felt the ground shake and the giant zero-pointer peeked around the corner. Everyone started screaming and running away, but Izuku's ears picked up on someone yelling for help. He turned back and saw someone trapped under a giant piece of rubble. Before he even realized what he was doing, he was ready in motion. He released a single buckshot that reduced the boulder to rubble, as Peregrine darted forward, picking the girl up. Izuku made sure to turn down the temperature on Peregrine so he wouldn't accidentally burn the girl. As soon as Peregrine had the girl, Izuku was sprinting in the opposite direction of the zero-pointer. Peregrine hovered along next to him, still connected. Time's up! President Mike's shouted, as Izuku finally reached the edges of the city. The zero-pointer was large, but it was slow as well. Izuku turned towards the person his Peregrine was carrying. You good? He asked, and the only response he got was the girl vomiting on the floor. Anyway guys, thanks for listening. I apologize if I was stumbling over my words a little bit today. I'm really tired, but thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys later. Next time.